But I think I've found now that the reason that we were able to send folks during a pandemic is because we had local on-site folks that were able to really work with me. They were able to explain all of the current COVID things. What are all of the requirements? What is the status of lockdown? How long do they have to stay in their rooms when they get there? How much are COVID tests costing and who's going to pay for that? Um, what are the actual day-to-day things like? There are differing philosophies depending on the country. Some folks, when they say lockdown, they mean stay in your house and don't come out except for like maybe an hour a day if you need groceries. And other places are like, yeah, you want to be outdoors? Cool, have at it, have a great time. And so it was a lot to navigate. I'll go back to the beginning of a little over a year ago. We had 34 students out for semester and year programs. I You'll have to forgive me. It feels like it's been 10 years and 10 minutes at the same time. So I don't know that I have the exact breakout memorized anymore, but there were students in Cambridge, there were students in Reutlingen, there were students in Southern Africa, there were students in Costa Rica, there was a student in Japan. So we had them kind of all over the place. And I will tell you that recalling them was probably like the absolute worst week of my life. It was heartbreaking. And there were varying levels of folks that understood and folks that were understandably upset, right? They signed up for a semester and that's what they committed to. And by the time they felt like they had really kind of gotten things under their wing and they're like, yeah, I'm comfortable and I know what I'm doing. We're like, yeah, so about this COVID, we're going to have to bring you home, right? And so that really sucked. There's no other way of putting it. They were sad. I was sad. It was awful. And so after that, we worked through all of that. We worked through getting them some housing refunds, getting them either to finish classes remotely or find someone on campus to help make sure they didn't lose track of the things that they needed with their academics. So it was a whole thing. And then after that, I had this group that was thinking about going in the fall, and they're like, "So what about us?" And naive me is like, "Oh, by fall, things should be right." Like we all went home in March thinking, "Yeah, we'll go home for 2, 3 weeks, and then we'll come back, and it's gonna be no, not at all, right?" I have learned the hard way. I never make any promises at all about any point in the future. I say it could be like this, it could not. Um, but that was the time when we sat down and I built a brand new risk assessment thing. So it is literally a 7-page worksheet that I do for every single location and program, um, because it really became a re-education piece, right? Of COVID is not the only risk. It's not like is. It's not like even health related things are the only things that we're thinking about when students go abroad, right? We're thinking about what decisions are they going to make? Are they going to rent a car and drive around? And how do we make sure that we have things in place? So if something bad happens in that car, we have things in place to be able to help them, right? So that's all really important in the context of the conversation of sending students abroad. So things we have control over and things we don't. And
Yeah,
so go ahead.
maybe you could just mention a little bit about the switch to permanent directors at both
Yes.
sites,
Yes. And
Cambridge and
so
Riley.
yeah. And so about, oh gosh, that was about 2018 or so. We made a transition to having permanent on-site coordinators. So you may know, but the setup in our Costa Rica center already has a permanent on-site coordinator who is an alum of Valpo. Her name is Heidi. She's absolutely fantastic. Right, the Heidis are coming in. But that really allows for that longevity of retaining partnerships and collaborations, and then also that local expertise, right? So what I had hoped and envisioned is that we would have opportunities for faculty to go and still teach, but offload some of that health and safety piece, both for their benefit and then also just to make sure that that's all consistent, right? And so we did that. We didn't quite get to the second part like I wanted, but I will tell you that I I really think that that made a huge difference in terms of being able to think through, okay, what does it look like if they arrive in August? What does it look like if they arrive in September? What if we do a half and half? We had about 6 or 7 different scenarios built out, because we had a number, I would say 17 students ended up going this past fall. The lion's share of them went to Cambridge and Reitlingen, and then 3 of them went to Ireland through one of our partners. Um, Not because we wouldn't have sent them to maybe some other places, but because by the time we got through all of this, those were the folks that were still brave enough to keep working with me. And that's where they wanted to go.